about 26 years, and during hurricane season in Florida here, I do a lot of generator repairs. And I'm talking about the ones that are gasoline powered. They have a little. Most of them have a little carburetor. Um, and I run into the same thing every year. And it's the oldest. People say, "Oh, I haven't used it." What happens is, and some people go 5 years without using it. 5, 6, 7 years, 10 years. I've seen them, and they think they can just leave the gasoline in there, and and the gasoline is going to last forever. Number one thing you're going to do when the hurricane season's over, drain all the gasoline. And I don't care if it's a plastic tank, if it's a metal tank, I don't care. Drain all the gasoline out of the tank. Now, how do you do that? They have little pumps that you can, suction pumps. You can buy them for like $10. Suction all the gas out. There's only, if you have some type of mechanical ability, clamp the hose that goes from the gas tank to the carburetor and disconnect it. Open the little valve, the on-off valve for the tank, or the supply from the tank to the carburetor, and then you can drain that into a bucket or something like that, and you can just use that gasoline for your weed eater, for your jet ski if it's a 4-cycle. There's a bunch of stuff you can put in your car if you want to. But number one, take all the gasoline out. Don't leave the gasoline in there. Okay? Now, this is the most important part. The most important part is, once you're done with that, there's always a little bit of gasoline left at the bottom of the tank. You're not going to take the tank off and go through all of that. So once you've taken most of the gas out of the tank, connect up. If you have taken the hose, the gasoline supply line off of the carburetor, go ahead and reattach it, and open the valve up, the gasoline supply line to the carburetor, and run it all the way until it shuts off on itself, meaning let's use all the gas, all of it, whatever's left at the bottom of the tank, whatever, let it run out. Why is that? I run into this all the time. People think that because you remove most of the gasoline out of the tank, that now it's safe to store. No, there's that little part, that little bit of gasoline at the bottom of the tank that's filling up the hose. And there's also, if you look underneath the little carburetor, if there's a way to get to it, there's also a little cup. That's where the float is at. Now, if you leave the gasoline in there, if there's any gasoline left in there, what's going to happen is that gasoline eventually is going to turn into it's kind of like turpentine, and it's going to create a film. It's like a brownish. It looks like a tar. It's a brownish tar, and it hardens. And most of the time, what happens is it will harden on the needle, and the needle it's a little tiny thing with a rubber tip, and it will lock that thing in place. That gunk that forms in there, and you will not, when you try, even when you fill it up and the whole 9 yards, it will be stuck, and it won't let. You would have to take the carburetor apart to mess with. So some carburetors on this power plants have a little screw that you don't have to take the cup off, and if you don't want to go through the procedure of let the whole all the fuel burn out by running it until it runs out of fuel in the float and everything, they have a little screw where you can take it off, and that will drain the bowl where the float is at underneath the carburetor. You can take that off also, but I prefer my favorite way of doing it is to run it until it runs all the way out, because that leaves zero fuel anywhere in the little air passages or any of the little needles that you have and everything, and that would make sure that there's no fuel in the system. And then all you have to do next time you need to use it is put some fuel in it, however much fuel you think you're going to use, and run it. And you won't have to go through maintenance, repair, none of that. I'm telling you, if you do this, you won't have the problem of the next storm. You're going to crank it and, oh my God, and then you don't know what to do because that's not your thing, you know? So, you know, please run it all the way out after you've taken most of the gas, siphoned it or whatever out of the big tank. Do that, okay? So stay safe out there.